And we're back here on Couch Coach Live, another Tuesday night under the lights here on Couch Coach Live. What's going on, X?
Ain't too much was going on with you, man.
Not much, man. Just the same old. Hey, we're here. Funny. So you know how it's always funny how like when you have a plan in place and say, hey, this is what we're gonna talk about, this and the third. But we definitely
Hmm.
have some breaking news to talk about today, which was somewhat of a shocker, but not really. But we'll kind of dive into it. We got to talk about Jason Kidd, the former head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. They have split ways with the coach of Dallas Mavericks. Been there since 2021, and coincidentally, which is weird, he had just signed like an extension last year. I think he has, if my memory serves correct, I think he has 4 years left on that extension. Let's see. Yeah, so he got 40 million dollars left on his deal with the Dallas Mavericks, and we all know that the Dallas Mavericks did hire Masari as their team president, essentially replacing everybody's guy Nico Harrison. And also, your Masai also hired Mike Schmidt as their general manager. So those two will be responsible now not responsible more for the task of hiring a new head coach. So Jay Kidd is out in Dallas, man. What are your thoughts on Jay Kidd being out in Dallas?
Like you, coach. I was kind of surprised, but not too surprised. You know, when teams bring in like new presidents and GMs, they kind of want to they kind of want to get their guy in as the head coach. So I know I didn't hear any rumblings about Jason Kidd potentially being out as the coach up until the breaking news today. Um, I mean, out of the blue, but like I was saying, it it kind of makes sense because, like I said, you got Masai coming in as the team president. He brings in you said Mike Schmidt
Yeah, he's a general manager. Yeah.
as the GM. So, like I said, anytime you see a GM and a team president come into a team, they kind of want to bring in a guy that of their choosing. So, I mean, in my opinion, Jason Kidd is a good coach. So yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for him to find another head coaching position. So I just I'm kind of eager now to see what direction Dallas is looking for as far as a head coach. Did they drop any names or um about who are they like who they're potentially looking at coaches that may be on coaching staffs that's on teams that's still currently playing or
Not quite. No, not yet, because it really just happened like an hour ago,
okay,
maybe 2 hours ago. So yeah, it's just like
okay,
fresh. There'd probably be some pundits that will say like kind of, who would potentially, but and when you think about it, any type of task, I mean, I doubt if like because who he's really tied with like the Wayne Casey's, Nick Nurse, but Nick Nurse is in Philly. I don't know
hmm
as far as their assistants and what have you under those two head coaches, but I remember he was a part of those where as far as hiring those head coaches and well, first getting rid of Dwayne Casey, but then also hiring Nick Nurse. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
okay,
But yeah, I think it's like I said, I'm like 50-50 when it comes to like the shock factor. Just simple fact of like we see this all the time. We talk about this in football, like as far as when a GM comes and they clean house, they hire who they want to hire. Sometimes some coaches stay there, and some don't. And I think this is another one where this is their way of kind of showing, hey, we're gonna hire who we want. Especially considering the fact, looking at the move, hey, you're gonna essentially gonna have to pay him pretty much to fire him. Which good. Shout out to Jason Kidd's agent for him to get the extension last year. So I like that's one thing. Hey, that's the thing about the beauty about being coaches where you're hired to be fired, and then you get an opportunity like this where you can you can have over $40 million left in your contract and you'll still get that. And I think there'll be a opportunity for Jason Kidd to land somewhere potentially in this coaching cycle as well. Not sure. I know a lot of people has talked about like kind of his whereabouts where he could go. A lot of people said Chicago, but I'm not sure because they had just hired a president, so I'm not sure if they have ties together because they fired the former. They hired one of the guys from Atlanta as their president. So it's really interesting how this all gonna play out. But it's kind of one of the things where he was just in a bad situation anyway. Now with losing Luka like you did, and then kind of what did you expect? Obviously, you did get Cooper Flag, but in the interim, you still had that gaping hole of not having Luka, and then also with Kyrie Irving being out all this year. So, and then just how bad the team was, kind of one of the things where, kind of what did you expect? But that's just, it's one of the things where just Masai, I think he just want to go in a different direction. Now, I think it's nothing like as far as what he has done. I think regardless what Jason Kidd did, I think he still would have been out because of just who was hired as the president of the GM.
Okay. Hey, Coach, I got a question for you real quick. I know let's play the guessing game. What you think about Kidd in Portland? They just came off an impressive run, made it to the playoffs, eliminated by San Antonio in 5 games. But if you think about it, they kind of have I'm not saying he's Luka, but they have like a. Can you hear me?
Oh, repeat it again from the top because I ain't hear you the first part of it. I can hear you now. You started from the top.
Nah, I was saying, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Kidd going to Portland to coach? Because if you think about it, they're kind of they have somewhat of a core with Denny Avia, Sharp, you got Dame coming back. You got Scoot Henderson who played. To me, he played a lot better this season. Finding a role, coming off the bench, playing defense. I mean, I think Kidd can do wonders in Portland, especially with having a player like Denny Avia. I mean, he's not Luka, but he has like the similar build to Luka, a tall, like 6'7", 6'8", ball handler that can play the point, that can also score, assist, can't play defense, but he can lead off, but he can run an offense. And I think Jason Kidd likes those tall guards that can run the offense because they can see the whole floor, they can see over top of defenders and everything like that.
I think it would be a good situation for him. I think my hang up with the Portland situation is the ownership portion of it, where.
But he's getting $40 million from Dallas. That's why I feel like whatever the Portland owner decides to offer Kidd, maybe he can offset it with the money he's getting from Dallas. That's why I said. That's why I threw Portland out there.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing too, where if I get from that point, like as far as hey, that's their way of, getting him for pennies on a dollar. But in my whole case with Portland, he's just so cheap, not just for the contract part, but just the organization itself. So I'm really gonna be curious how he will be able to, because for him to develop a team, it's going to require money. It's going to require additional funds to help with this team, and will he be willing to? And it's and I hate how people on the internet always say, "Well, you're pocket watching." They're in the playoffs. They haven't been in the playoffs in a good minute, and these guys, these fans don't get shirts because you're trying to be cheap. Your staff, and it's and I don't understand. Like, it's more than just the contract, but him just being overall cheap in little aspects, trying to cut corners financially. Like, certain staff checking out at 12, and then they pretty much don't have nowhere to go until it's time for them to go to the arena, which that sounds crazy to me. Like, so just imagine dealing with stuff like that. And they just did some layoffs. They got rid of some people, I think today or a couple of days ago. I know they got rid of like their digital media guy. So it's like, it's a lot going on in Portland. And for them to not even pay like a Tiago Splitter is, to me, is crazy. So, I mean, if the owner situation wasn't an issue, this would be a perfect fit for him. But I don't think it's going to be a situation where, although, yes, you probably can pay him pennies on a dollar, but it's just not going to be a good situation long term for J.K. Even the little stuff that he's cutting corners now, and I know he's going to try to cut corners as as the years progress, and and just can't be back at the same place where he at. He probably be out before Dallas still pay him. He'll probably be gone, long gone, even when Dallas still paying him. So it's a great situation though, but it's just the ownership situation. It's just would get me. I think that would be kind of the tough part for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man. Because I'm like, man, I heard that stuff. I thought it was fake. I literally thought that was fake when people were saying, "Hey, he's like cutting corners financially." Like, I'm like, these people deserve more.
You can't be cheap and run a team. There's no way possible. You have to put out money to bring in money.
Yeah, because in fact, with the NBA, you're making the money. Like, you're gonna make the money off of that, especially in Portland. Like, Portland is a really rich town as far as when it comes to basketball history and their fans. They're gonna show out.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get your money back full, especially now with this team winning. Like, this is a perfect opportunity where this will be your cash cow, because if they've been around in the tough years, building this team, and I mean, you gotta think to yourself, they have endured a lot in these last few years, and for them to get an opportunity now to have playoff games, this is perfect. Like, don't ruin this. And like you said, when you're in a business like this, you got to spend the money, and you got to spend the money because the money going to come back.
Pretty much.
It's going to come back. It's going to come back. And if doing simple stuff like people checking out at the right time, like, no, just pay them for extra day. At this point,
yeah, for real.
Hey, because I mean, what are we like? Like, why is this even like? That's the thing. Was like, this is crazy. So I'm like, yeah. So, but it would be a good situation for him. But I think the ownership situation is gonna suck for him. Yo. So we gotta stay in the Western Conference. We gotta talk about game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, which I think, we all was like, look, let's just wake everybody up until the Western Conference Finals. I think that's pretty much everybody thought was, hey, we knew OKC and San Antonio was on a collision course for this, and game 1 lived up to the hype. A 122 to 115 2 overtime thriller, an instant playoff classic. We ain't gonna get into the stats, so we'll talk about it as it progresses. But what's the overall thoughts on game 1 of the Western Conference Finals?
Oh man, honestly, in my opinion, maybe the best game of the playoffs thus far. Man, it was from the opening tip. They would just pedal to the metal. San Antonio jumped out. OKC do what they normally do. They cut into the lead. They'll make a run themselves. But every time they made a run, San Antonio was able to answer that and and stop the bleed and pretty much maintain the lead. Um, couple careless turnovers by San Antonio in the fourth quarter. Um, and man, I know we're not talking about stats, but man, Wemby, that was
Oh, we can
what?
talk about sets much more. I
Okay,
didn't want to kind of like far as like you can bring up sets. I just didn't want to bring it up and then kind
okay,
of
yeah,
mess your whole flow up. You can talk
okay,
about
okay,
stats for sure.
okay. And the fact that Wemby, what, 41 points, 24 rebounds. I think they marked him down for 3 blocks, but if you watch the game, he altered a lot of shots and he protected the paint um like a man on a mission. Y- You see, and to me it was funny because you don't really see a bunch of NBA players like shying away from going to the basket, but in that game they shied away from going to the basket. It was high arcing floaters. It was a lot of threes being shot, and OKC was just off. To me, the only two that really showed up. I'm not gonna say they only showed up to play, but had a good shooting nights were J Dub and Caruso. I mean, Shea had what 24, but it took him like 23, 24 shots to get it. It wasn't efficient. It wasn't the efficient SGA that we're used to seeing. And then you saw him like early on in the game trying to get foul calls, well, trying to draw fouls to get to the line, flailing the arms and stuff like that. Referees not blowing the whistle, letting them play. It's the Western Conference Finals. You got to let them play. Yes, it's going to be physical. They've been on a collision course since their first matchup of the season. Look, San Antonio won the season series 3 games to 1. And like I said, to me, San Antonio seems like they're locked in to do damage. OKC has to play a lot better, and I feel like they will play a lot better. They are the defending champions. You do have the reigning defending MVP, um, but along with that, man, Chet, where you at? You've got to come to play. We understand there's some underlying rivalry or beef with you and Wimby, but man, you have to show up and play in these games. It's the Western Conference Finals. You already lost home court advantage. Now y'all have to go on the road. Well, you have to win game 2 to tie the series, and now you have to go into San Antonio and still win in San Antonio, which is not going to be easy because their crowd is just as hype and rambunctious, hype and off the chain as OKC fans. So they OKC, honestly, their backs again. I know it's only the first game, but to me, I feel like their backs are up against the wall because San Antonio did all that and still didn't have their second best player on the court in De'Aaron Fox. To me, he's the closer of the team, the second best player, and those turnovers that Castle was making down the stretch, like in the clutch situation, De'Aaron Fox won't make those. De'Aaron Fox is like top 3 when it comes to clutch players, according to the stats and stuff like that. So he knows what to do and how to get the job done. So um, they're gonna have to come to play game 2. They're gonna have to come out and put their foot on San Antonio neck and do not let up. You have to beat them down and beat them down early, and you have to crash the glass to get rebounds. Like you guys were out, they were out rebounded 61-40 or something like that.
20 to 30. It was like about 20 something. It was a crazy amount.
Yeah,
It
so
was about like 20. Yeah.
and then I think and am I don't know if I'm is J Dub on a minutes restriction? Or did like well was he supposed to be on a minutes restriction because I know he played I know he clocked in a lot of minutes last night and especially missing the last series and the last missing the last almost two series and then coming back to
Almost.
play the with the hamstring injury and then you coming back to play those large amount of minutes can't be good for especially for them hamstrings. So game two we're gonna see which Jada we're gonna get coming out. Chet to me has to be more aggressive and more assertive on the offensive end. He has to take more than what 6, 7 shots. He has to.
Yeah.
Have to. You have to at least make Wemby think that you're gonna go out there and assert yourself on the offensive end. You can't just play back and play sidekick. Sometimes you got to step up and take shots. If you see SGA is struggling to to score, that's where you have to step in. So, but after watching game one, I feel like we're in for a great series. Could be an all-time great series, in my opinion.
Yeah. So J Dub, he actually played 37 minutes. So
That's a
that's
lot
a
of
lot of
minutes.
minutes. Yeah. So it's really interesting, like kind of how they kind of play that. But I don't know, it's just one of the things where it's just like I don't know. But then it's crazy because like AJ Mitchell, I think he played. I'm looking at Ash. How much minutes he? Oh, 34 minutes. So you think to yourself like it's kind of interesting how that all played out. And like so the rebound edge was 61-40. So I knew it was like by like 20 something. So yeah, it was a 21 differential between the Spurs and the Thunder.
Okay.
But like you said, it's interesting because we always and that's crazy. However, I was looking at like the Thunder, like hey, they just gonna walk off and they're gonna we all knew that San Antonio was going to give them a challenge. I mean, I think they won 4 out of the 5 games in the regular season. So you look at like a situation like this, San Antonio got to the hot start, and it's just one of the things where it's like every time OKC was coming back, Spurs challenged them, and you just look at and it's so funny when you really sit down. I had last night. It was so crazy. I was watching this game. If you don't like seeing San Antonio play, you would think they have been in the playoffs for years. They're the youngest team in the NBA.
Yeah.
I had to think to myself, this is their first time in the playoffs. Because I literally had to Google, like, okay, did the San Antonio, did the Spurs make the playoffs in the 2024-2025 season? And they did. And it's just amazing to me, like how guys play. We could talk about women. I'll probably talk about him momentarily. But just like the young guys, like Dylan Harper,
Yeah.
he played phenomenal. I mean, he had 24 points. He had 6 assists and only had 1 turnover. Played very well. Yeah, and he got to the cup. He was aggressive. Like he's a rookie. So you look at him, and like you said, Vassell did his thing. He had 13. Champagny had 11. So you look at all their starters was in double figures. And then obviously Stephen Castle at 17. So you look at this, that group alone, like you think, because most time when you're thinking about like young players or those they're not gonna, step up in a big moment like this in a game one of a Western Conference Finals. You use it, especially when you go into the game like you were talking about the De'Aaron Fox being out, and he's like their which I mean, it's weird to say that he is one of the most veteran players between him and Harrison Barnes. Yeah. So losing that production, you definitely thought like, okay, yeah, it might be a little bit of an issue, but no, it won't. And then the aforementioned Wemby, it's scary. It's scary hours. Like, it's to a point where, like you said, those 3 blocks, but it's almost like it's weird. It's like almost like a football term. Yes, he may have got like 3 interceptions, but there was a bunch of pass deflections, like, as far as from a football perspective, where you may not see, the stats, like, hey, you may not see an interception, but he also, like I said, but they don't count, like like you said, like him being able like that, the swat backs more so change directions of shots, this, that, third, how active he was in the paint, and with those type of numbers. But let's look at it just from the standpoint of just like, and then, and I don't know, it's so weird. Like, it's like I said, it like when Wemby hit that 3 in overtime, that it was probably about a 30 something, 30, well, maybe about 30. They do stuff where it's just like, you're inexperienced, you're young. You're shooting a 3 like this with seconds to go to tie the game.
And shot it with confidence.
Right. And that's one thing. And I really have to give Coach Johnson credit as well, too. Because a lot of it, I think, is for him as well. Because, like I said, it's still, like, it was so crazy last night. I was thinking to myself, this team, like, is, how, like, when we look at kids and be like, yeah, they've been here before. Mm-hmm. That's why I look at the San Antonio Spurs team, which is so crazy to think. This is their first time being in the playoffs, but they look so confident every game, and that's the thing that kind of like baffles me, because we're so used to, like, we'll talk, most people we talk like, teams like like the teams have been here before, like the Thunder, they had to take their lumps, even though it was a little bit to take their lumps. Cavs had to take their lumps. The Knicks had to take their lumps, but now you look at this Spurs team, and it's just like, it is amazing of how these things happen, and I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be interesting. And then to kind of wrap it up, the Thunder, I think it's just one of those things where it's just like, they're gonna definitely be better, like have to be better. Obviously, like you said, Chet, he's got to step up, because that's and not necessarily. I'm not necessarily say he has to have like a Alex Caruso type of game where Alex Caruso had 31 points. I say maybe give them about 18 to 20. And I think that would be perfect to kind of help neutralize. You're not going to get the 41 and whatever, but I think if you get a performance like half of kind of what Caruso gave you in this game, because he's another one where if Caruso didn't have a game like this, we ain't going to 2 overtimes. This thing going to be done in 48 minutes.
I feel like that with Chet, it's just he has to be more assertive on offense, man. Like he has to look for a shot. But like you said, I'm not looking for Chet or saying Chet needs to have 31 or anything like that. I'm just saying look to shoot more.
Yeah. Look to shoot more, be a little bit more aggressive, kind of get Wemby in some foul trouble, kind of, just get yourself, get yourself in some type of mode. And like you said, I don't expect you to have 41 and 24. Mm-hmm. We know that. That's not gonna happen. But like I said, give them a good 20-point effort. I think that would be great. In addition of all the other scoring that you have on these with the Thunder, and I think they'll be fine. And like you said, he just has to be aggressive, because that's the one thing with him. And it's weird, because it's almost like, because in Minnesota in the series, okay, you had Naz Reid and Rudy. And I will give Naz Reid some credit. He was aggressive. Yeah. But he's, and I think that's where you got to kind of get in Wemby's head, because I date back to that game 4 when he got ejected, and how, that back and forth with him and Naz Reid. And I'm like, hey, you got to get in Wemby's head, because I'm telling you, if you let him, because you see, like to me, like when SGA and it was going for that, remember I don't know what quarter it was, but he had Wemby had got up and then like laughed at him. And a part of me is like, look, Hartenstein, Chat, y'all gotta take that personal. I gotta get in his head because that's the only way we're gonna be able to get after him. We're gonna have to get him in foul trouble. We gotta get in his head. But we gotta make, because I'm telling you, like, don't let these dudes get confidence like this. This, like I said, they've been here before, but they ain't. And it's scary hours.
And then another thing, I don't see Stephon Castle having 11 turnovers again. He's gonna play better.
That's not gonna happen.
He's gonna play better.
And that's another thing.
And then, like I said, De'Aaron Fox is coming back. But what I like about San Antonio is that their guards and their wings play lockdown defense.
Yep.
They play defense just as good as OKC, if not better. Especially on the perimeter. And they definitely have the better of the rim protectors with Wemby.
Yeah.
But playing out on the perimeter defensively, if they're equal, if not a little bit better. Because Castle can guard, Harper can guard, Vassell can guard. They're going to get at you. Yeah, Champagne, they're going to get at you. And they're not afraid to do it. They're not afraid to get up in you and guard you one-on-one.
And like the turnovers, like you said, like OKC had 14, and it's like, and you think to yourself, you know, and this man, like, if you cut down turnovers from you know, on San Antonio end, this would have been a blowout. Like, so it's just one of those things where it's just like, you know, I'm definitely interested in the game too. Like I said, I think every game is going to be like this. Like, I don't expect no, you know, like a blowout. It may be 1 or 2 games if that, but I think more likely you have games close like this because these two teams make a great matchup. Like you know, styles make fights, and I think these two teams were built to beat each other. Yeah. You know, as far as, hey, I created, like, San Antonio, this is the reason why I got it, and you know, this is one of the reasons why, you know, how I'm going to be OKC, and then vice versa, where, you know, that as well. But yeah, this will go down. It's, I think, probably going to be one of the best series that we'll see, you know, in a while.
And I know, but think about the imprint that Chris Paul left on both of these franchises.
Somebody told me, so was talking about that yesterday, and I was like, yeah.
So CP3 got a lot to be proud of, especially watching SGA and watching Wemby go at it.
Yeah, I hope he can, and I know and maybe he kind of left an imprint with the Clippers, because after he left, they made the play in because they was horrible. And they got the 5th overall pick in the draft too. Yeah. Like, hey man, you're right. Chris Paul might just not just the Thunder. He might usher in his Clippers team down the road. You know, we shall see. But yeah, man. So I thought this is I think it's a very interesting topic, especially considering the fact that we both are in the media world. You know how stuff like this kind of happens, and you know, whatever. But so if you were, you know, perusing social media on Sunday morning, you got a Shams bomb that said that SGA won his 2nd consecutive MVP award. So, you know, and most people, we watched Amazon broadcast, the final Amazon broadcast of the season. I'm going to miss Taylor Rooks, but I'll leave that alone. But anyway, so, which is interesting because they had announced that SGA was going to be the MVP. And it's funny, in the back of my head was like, well, we already knew that was like 12 hours ago, right? And then, of course, you know, during the broadcast, you know, they kind of threw some shots at Shams. Taylor Rooks, you know, talked about, because they're on the broadcast, you got Dirk Nowitzki and also Steve Nash, who's 2-time MVP, because he was going to be the one that essentially was going to announce it, because it made sense because, you know, obviously SGA is from Canada. Mm-hmm. and and obviously Steve Nash from Canada as well. So they made like a little joke and was saying, hey, when Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash won the MVP, Shams didn't announce it. And then Blake Griffin pretty much said, "Go to brunch, you nerd." So pretty much, so you can tell there was some animosity behind it. So from what I gathered, essentially that was going to be something that was going to be announced on Amazon during their Game 7 pregame show. And this happened before where I know, like, I think TNT, they used to do it where they used to announce the winner of these awards. So my question is more so of basically, do you fault Shams for essentially dropping the news prematurely when it was supposed to be aired during Amazon broadcast?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, a lot of people had Shea as winning MVP again, so it came to no surprise. Now, I can see if it was someone like, I'm just gonna throw a name out there. Who was third place? Who was placed third? Well, what if Wemby? Like, let's just say Wemby.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was Wemby, because that, to me, I feel like that would have been a shock after everybody kept saying Shea's the MVP, Shea's gonna win MVP. Now that would have been kind of a bad look on Shams, with it being Wemby's first, with it being Wemby's first MVP and everything like that. But other than that, to me, it's not that big of a deal. I think that the fact that Shams is with ESPN now is the reason why it's a big deal, and it would have been more of a special moment, like you said, if Steve Nash, former two-time back-to-back MVP, from Canada, just like SGA from Canada, back-to-back MVP. Just to have someone like that from your home country announce that you won back-to-back MVP, it would have been special. I mean, it's still special winning MVP, but just to have someone that's done it before you, and y'all both from the same country, it would have been like a very special moment. But I mean, I'm kind of used to the Shams bombs or whatever they call them now or whatever. So to me, it's not a big deal, but I can see why Amazon and everyone on the Amazon show would have an issue with Shams spoiling the announcement. So
yeah, it's I think with me personally, I think my issue with it is who pretty much gave Shams that insight. Like, to me, this falls on the NBA. Because if this was playing how many people said it was playing, where Amazon was going to be the one that's going to do the actual announcing of it, no one should have told Shams about it. Even though I know it's hard to kind of tell at this point, especially with the sources and you know how like stories come out like wildfire, where it's like, hey, I may tell somebody, then they're gonna tell. And it's just one of those things where I don't fault Shams because he's doing his job. Like, that's what he does. He breaks news, and a story of this nature, it's gonna be broken. And I think this just the NBA just has the tight their grip when it comes to type of stuff. Hey, if once you get this news, like if this happens, say for instance, it comes out Saturday night. Okay, this is going to be broadcast live on Amazon. And like this should be something that was everybody should know.
Yeah.
So then, hey, Shams, you're gonna get this information, but don't say nothing. Don't post nothing until the broadcast. Until Steve Nash announces SGA and also when they interview SGA. So it's one of the things where it's to me, like you said, it's not that big of a deal because we know how these things happen. Where people get people talk. So this wasn't a what I call like a best kept secret because I mean it is what it is. It was going to happen. So it's just one of those where you just can't expect somebody to sit on news like that and don't report it, especially for someone like him.
Yeah.
So it's just like I blame it more on the league than Shams, in my personal opinion. I blame the league.
Yeah, it could have been handled a lot better than what it was.
Yeah. So I'm just like, hey, and they just know next time. And a lot of people made a comparison. Well, Woj won't do that. And I really can't vouch for that kind of because I don't remember when, those things happen. As far as MVP announcement, because I remember those used to be on TNT a lot. So I remember, and not necessarily, because I don't even remember how those kind of handled. I know, like when they had the awards, they would be interviewed on TNT, and I don't even remember. Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, I just remember seeing them come like at the bottom of the ticker on like Sports Center, ESPN, or something like that. So
yeah, and I like you said, and then even with that, like I said, I think if my memory is correct, I think we probably already knew because how late the broadcast. I think we already knew already. I think a lot of it's the animosity between Shams being an ESPN and then people like a lot of their reaction was really odd to me because it was like they were mad because of the whole Amazon being behind a paywall. Obviously having a playoff game that you had to pay for. A subscription. I put it that way. You had to have a subscription. So I think a lot of people was happy that Shams beat them to it because they're so mad because of the Amazon broadcast. But all I gotta say is there's a reason why hey, that host is amazing. So yeah, so I was hoping she'd do some WNBA stuff this year, but I don't think so. So but we'll just wait. Hopefully she'll have a little cameo appearance on Sunday on Thursday Night Football. But it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man. So the Wizards actually won the lottery surprisingly, which is so funny because we kind of talked about this, earlier in the season as far as what if the Wizards get the number one pick, kind of how it would be. So, and I find it so weird, like how, like this is even a topic, but it is, because to me it's a common sense situation. Yeah. But a lot of people are looking at a few factors because obviously, the Wizards, they've got a lot of calls inquiring about the number one overall pick. Then obviously people seeing during the draft lottery how AJ DeBosa looked a little not happy, and then obviously people talked about his ties in Utah, and they put so much money in him to go to high school and also to go to BYU. He needs to go to the Jazz. They need to do this, that, and the third. So if you are the GM of the Washington Wizards, what would you do with that number one overall pick? Would you just draft AJ? Would you trade it? What would you do? What you got?
Draft AJ, but if I did trade, I think the only team I would consider trading with is Utah because you can get back a lot just for that number one pick with draft capital, and you probably can snatch away Ace Bailey. to put alongside Trey Young, AD, Sar. But if the Wizards want to keep the number one pick, just draft AJ, and he can plug right in and he can play. He's NBA ready. He'll probably come in averaging anywhere from 20 to 23 a game, especially when you got a point guard like Trey Young feeding you the rock. Um, it'll pretty much solidify your future. Having AJ, he can be box office, especially in DC. Um, would you consider Washington a big market, like a major market, or to me, I think they're kind of in the middle.
They're in the middle. They may be like, I would say maybe at least like a top 15.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, so like I said, if I'm the GM of the Wizards, I'm drafting AJ, solidifying my future. Like I said, pairing him with Trey Young, AD, Sar, you good to go.
Yeah.
And what's the kid name? Bub Carrington.
Oh, yeah, Bub. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but draft AJ, you'll have a solid squad, and especially you have a solid foundation to start building to improve the team.
And this is what I find funny, and I hate that, and that's why I let the Wizards have nice things. The moment that y'all, I'm telling you, I swear, it killed me like Mother's Day. It was like they win this lottery. Oh well, AJ needs to go. AJ needs to go to Utah and this and third. And then I'm like, all right. To me, I don't care. I'm drafting AJ, and the only reason why I say that is because of one thing and one thing only. I would have loved to do business with the Utah Jazz, but we tried to do this last year because remember, Ace Bailey was kind of wanting to go in the East Coast, and it's funny how we looked at AJ, looked at his situation like, well, you just got to go where you need to go, right? They was fine with that. They was fine with, oh yeah, you just go where you need to go. Same thing gonna happen to AJ. He gonna have to speak Mambo. It's okay, because you're gonna love it here. Because, and like I said, and even if Dan Age come calling, he don't have to give up more than Ace Bailey.
Oh no, he's giving me. He's giving up draft. He's giving up draft compensation for a fact.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, but he also too because you giving me that. You giving me some compensation too. You gonna give me maybe Laurie Marketing or Walker Kessler. You gotta give me one of them.
Yeah,
but
then
what?
But
AD,
yeah. So if they do that and they get either one of them, do you move AD?
Absolutely.
All right. So
that's I'm telling you, when people talk about when people talk about AD and Trey Young, I don't look at them as the long-term solution for the Washington Wizards. If I'm looking at the Washington Wizards from 5 years from now, no. So I don't look at it from that. But I would definitely get rid of AD for anything. But you got to give me compensation. But I'm not even gonna do that because we could have did this last year with Ace Bailey. So to me, it's almost like, hey, it's but nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm gonna keep AJ because, like you said, I want a superstar. I want this because this basketball team needs superstar. They need that superstar like they had with John Wall, a marketable guy in the district to go along with just this whole mantra in DC. Like I said, AJ gonna have to speak Mambo. So he's gonna be ingrained in this culture. He's gonna be at our home opener on September 27th against the world champion Seattle Seahawks. He's gonna be there with his Washington Commanders #1 jersey and that the new classic jersey that we have. He's gonna be at WNBA games. He's gonna be a staple in the district. He's gonna be at the DC Defenders games. He's gonna be active in this community. Like that's what I want. And you can have a superstar like that, like AJ DePonce. Like so to me, no, let the Wizards get they earned that #1 overall pick. And I'm not a Wizards fan, but I'm just as far as from a geographical location, let the folks in DMV have nice things. Let them have nice things.
No argument out of me.
Yeah, because I'm at a point, I'm sorry, like if Danny A calls me, I might be tempted to hang the phone up in his face. Because we could have did this in good faith last year. We could have did a pick swap. We could have did this whole thing. Ace Baylor could have been in DC where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in the East Coast. He didn't want to go to the West Coast. But then everybody kept on talking about, well, you don't get a choice where you're drafted. But then AJ, oh, well, they put money into him. They was like, you know what? He went to high school in Utah and he went to BYU. So it's only fair for him to go to Utah. We won't play two sides of the coin. Like, had that same energy that you talked about Ace Bailey last year. Y'all thought he was, he's being a diva and all this type of stuff. But it's cool when y'all put this stuff in the air. Because AJ, I don't think he hasn't said this stuff. Like, he hasn't been vocal about it. But it's more so of just the people talking about, him being in the state of Utah, and I'm like, that's everybody. There's tons of people that play in a certain place, and then they had to go somewhere and get drafted somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
He'll love it here.
Oh yeah.
He'll love it. He'll love it in DC.
Yes.
He'll be great among these great young stars in the district. So he'll be fine. He'll be in this culture with Jaden Daniels, obviously with Jaden Daniels, Kiki Irfin, Sonia Citron, all the people, all these young core in the district. So I'm like, you'll be in good hands. You'll love it. You'll love it here.
Yeah.
You'll be getting carry out, getting wings and with mambo sauce, and you'll love it here. You'll love the taste of the sauce. You'll love everything. You'll love this culture. So let the Wizards have nice things. I beg of you.
Exactly.
But I'm telling you, them tickets at Cal One going, man, y'all, them tickets going, the price. The price, yesterday's price is not today's price, boy. Oh boy. Man. But yeah. So we'll put a bow on tonight's show with our game ball and final thoughts. So who gets this week's game ball for you?
It would be easy for me to go with Wemby, but I'm gonna go with his teammate, Dylan Harper. His first career playoff start in the Western Conference Finals as a rookie. Ended up with 24 points, 11 rebounds, 7 steals, 6 assists. I think, no turnovers or 1 turnover, something like that?
1 turnover. It's only 1.
Man, and yeah, special. For him to be a rookie and to put up those numbers, especially in the Western Conference Finals, special.
Yeah. Legit, yep. Mine is more so not a game ball scent, but more so of a kind of get well soon. Just got to give a huge shout out to Rakia Jackson. This had tore ACL the other day. So and then everything off and on the field, court. We'll put it that way on the court. Definitely sending her healing energies and and a successful comeback in 2027 because she's out for the year. So
Mhm.
I know it's been a tough year for her on and off the court. So definitely wishing her the best. And so before we head on out, any final thoughts, social media, anything to plug and yep.
Nothing really coming up. Glad to be back. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Just glad to be back in the swing of things. Social media, Twitter/X is X_J_SR. IG is Game On Media_X. Like I said, I'm just glad to be back on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're back. I guess we kind of, I don't know if we ironed out all the technical difficulties, but we're back here. Nothing going on. Like I really have just taken a break from all the media stuff. So I'm like, it's just why not? Let's take a break and kind of recalibrate and kind of have a.
I was gonna say you need that time to unwind and.
Because come the fall, come pretty much come August, and hell, really July, really.
Yeah, July.
That's when everything kind of ramps up, and it's just like, let me just take some time, kind of recalibrate, kind of re-energize and refocus, and try to come back with some better stuff, graphic wise, and all just brainstorming, and in this time of a restart. So yeah, man. So yeah, pretty much Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live. Also the website couchcoachlive.com, which I definitely will need to try to revamp at least before the summer for sure. So try to get that all kind of back into focus. And yeah, man. So this wraps up this week's episode, and we'll catch you guys next week. And we're out.
Peace.